I want people to listen carefully. We're not being dogmatic here. You can't hardly move the needle. In this man's example, he's weighing almost 300 pounds. How much cardio can he do? Not very much. He's not going to be able to burn very many calories, so it's just really not a very efficient use of his time. But as he gets stronger, in 2 to 3 weeks, he'll be doing so much more work that any cardio he might have done in week 1, 2, and 3 will just be overshadowed.
You're listening to Barbell Logic, brought to you by Barbell Logic Online Coaching, where each week we take a systematic walk through strength training and the refining power of voluntary hardship.
Welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast with Scott Hambrick and Matt Reynolds. And today we're going to answer a question that we get. Probably a third of the questions we get to the questions at Barbell Logic email are about fat loss and starting strength. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But Matt, I wanted to share another one of my rules.
Another one of your rules?
Another one of my rules.
Okay, so let's hear it.
Here at the Hambrick House, we never spend found money. So found money would be like literally money that you found. Like every now and then,
Clearly.
every now and then somebody will find $100 bill. You don't find that. You didn't have it in the budget. You didn't need it. You didn't know you were going to get it. That's the easiest 100 to save you'll ever find. Sure. And then when we did when I was in business, we would do special projects that were outside of the regular scope of our business, and I never spent any of the proceeds of those things because I didn't see it coming. We weren't counting on it. And that found money is the easiest money to save that you'll ever have. You just grind out week after week after week trying to save a certain percentage of your regular check, and then you get a Christmas bonus. Shit, that's found money.
That's right.
That one's easy to save. So around here, we never spend found money.
Right, or if you are going to spend it, you would spend it on debt if you had debt, right?
Yeah,
so
and I don't consider that. I don't consider that spending.
Right, correct.
Yeah,
that's the first step in saving.
Yeah, you get a $2,000 Christmas bonus, man, pain free. You put that thing right on the mortgage, off you go.
Yep,
and that'll pay you for years and years.
Yep, I agree. Cash goes in the safe, right?
Cash goes in the safe.
Yep.
Yeah. So the first rule I shared was don't go to people's weddings, funerals, or graduations unless they come to your house for Thanksgiving. And then today, don't spend found money, guys.
Yeah, that's good.
So we get these questions, and it's always a variant of, do I need to do cardio because I'm doing LP and I'm overweight? Do I need to blah, 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 fill in the blank? So we just thought we would just do a show here about fat loss, not weight loss. I think there's an important distinction there. Fat loss in LP and what that looks like, what you do, what you should expect, etc.
Yeah, and I don't even know that I would pigeonhole it as much as to say LP. I certainly think that you could divide the demographic up between people who are trying to start this in LP as novices and say, hey, I need to lose a bunch of fat. I'm legitimately 35%, 40%, low 40% fat and need to lose fat while trying to get strong on LP. But then you also have people who have walked through that for 6 months, 9 months, a year, and they put on the muscle and they've gained a little bit of fat and they're like, okay, now I need to actually start taking that thing off. What does that look like for somebody who's not a novice anymore, for somebody who is an intermediate or beyond? And I actually don't think there's a massive difference between the two. Like there's actually, well, we'll get there. So what do you do with the person who comes in first off and legitimately needs to lose fat?
Yeah, let me read here from Robert. He says, I am 45 years old and 6 feet tall. I was a fat, lazy piece of shit. I weighed 296 and did not work out. I started the carnivore diet 4 weeks ago. Day 3, I felt amazing. So much so I started going back to the gym, ride the bike, weights, blah, blah, blah. In 3 weeks, he lost 20 pounds, but mentally he felt a lot thinner. He mentally felt...
well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. He says, I came across you guys and Starting Strength. I listened to all of your podcasts, read the book, bought the app, and have logged 5 workouts.
Okay, hold on. Stop right there for a second.
Yep.
So 4 weeks ago, the guy started the carnivore diet, which we could get into that. And then on the 3rd day of the carnivore diet, he felt so good he started working out. So we're talking about in 3.5 weeks, he started working out the past 3.5 weeks. And in 3.5 weeks, he listened to all of our podcasts, all 187 episodes.
Good effort.
read the Starting Strength book in 3.5 weeks,
Mazel tov.
bought the app, and logged 5 workouts. Now,
Awesome.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, in fact, he probably hasn't listened to all 187 episodes in 3.5 weeks. That would be some binge listening.
Yeah, there's some people that do that. Work nights, whatever, running the backhoe. I don't know, whatever.
Possible.
He says, I want to get strong, but wondering if I should be doing high cardio program until I get down to a healthier weight, around 240 or so.
Yeah, so I was talking over you there for a second when the most important sentence. I'm now having some reservations about this program and my goal to lose weight. Right. So that is the crux of the question, right? Like, is this a good way to lose? And he's saying lose weight, but what he means is lose fat, right? Like, obviously that's what he means. So,
and for this gentleman, that will probably actually mean a lower body weight when he steps on the scale as well.
Of course it will. Yes.
But here's what I have found. I have found that if someone, and it's impossible to do like a double-blind controlled experiment here, but my experience has shown that if I take one person and tell them, hey, get on the treadmill, restrict your calories, run your ass off, get down to 200, then we'll do LP and see how long it takes you to be a 205-pound person with a 315 deadlift.
Yep.
And then I take another person who's obese and just start LP right away, that person will get to a 205-pound body weight and a 315 deadlift faster than the person who got skinny first.
I would take it even the next step. I think that person has a higher percentage chance of getting there at all.
I agree.
Right. So I actually think the person that you say, hey, if you just do cardio and limit your eating and whatever diet you decide to do, and we'll talk about that here in a second, I think the chances of them ever getting there, I think the burnout is too high, right? No, Look, does anybody enjoy running on a treadmill? Is there anybody on the planet that enjoys running on a treadmill, right? Like, I'm sure there's some outliers, but they're not very many.
They ain't listening to this show.
That's right. And in general, LP is the funnest lifting of your life.
Yeah.
It's a blast. So like I get it. The first week, 2 weeks, sometimes you're trying to like figure out the movements and everything's sort of like frustrating because you don't do it as well as you think you should. It's sort of like learning how to snow ski or something, right? You're just falling on your ass all the time. It's the same thing in the weights. And then once you kind of get that motor pattern figured out, you just come in every day and set PRs. And there's something that's very addicting about that. There's a mind change that occurs. And certainly a guy like this guy can still do LP. I wouldn't change one thing about LP. I would do LP exactly as it's written. And the only thing that I would change is I would begin to change his dietary habits to make sure that he can continue to lose fat. So would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Wouldn't change a thing about the programming itself?
No. And when the squat starts getting real heavy and you need that midweek sort of squat deload and your deadlift's already gotten heavy and you're already dropping out that midweek deadlift, I'd probably add a prowler or something at that point. But that would be the first time that we introduced anything specifically pointed to conditioning or fat loss that was, a dedicated activity for those things. Because you're going to find that there are people that say, oh, these starting strength people, they don't do any cardio. They're so stupid. Those people haven't lifted heavy because 3 sets of 5 and then another PR 3 sets of 5 and then a single set of 5 deadlifts is going to get your heart rate up over 110 for a whole hour. And they don't know what they're talking about. They're guessing and they haven't experienced it. So you'll find that you get lots of cardiovascular conditioning in doing this work, especially for someone who is unconditioned to begin with. And then we can start adding a little bit in. Here's what I think is happening in LP or for the untrained person. We know that a pound of fat is about 3,500 calories. That's pretty much known. They've taken some fat, put it in a bomb calorimeter, burned it up. It's 3,500 calories in there. So if you want to lose a pound of fat, you need to burn 3,500 calories more than you took in. So one way to do that is calorie restriction. Another way to do that is just burn a whole lot more calories. And best way to do it's both. Best way to do it's both. That's right. But if you just get on a treadmill, boy, that's really tough because we've all probably done this. You got on a treadmill and you ran your ass off for 15 minutes. You got a side stitch and you blacked out. And then when you woke up and looked at the little panel on the treadmill, you saw that you burned 139 calories.
Right.
You're like, this fucking ain't gonna work.
Right.
But when you put muscle mass on, it requires an enormous number of calories to build that muscle mass and that increased bone density. I have spent hours and hours and hours researching to try to find out how many calories it takes to create a pound of muscle protein.
Yep.
I have not been able to find the number. Everybody has settled on 3,500 for the fat, but for muscle, it seems to be between 5 to 10,000 calories. So you're going to burn an enormous number of calories and cannibalize your own fat, as long as you're getting enough protein to build the muscle that you need to finish LP. Additionally, a hard LP workout is going to burn far more than any running session that you could maintain as a new trainee athlete.
That's right. Yep.
I suspect that, again, nobody ever knows these answers. Everybody's spitballing this stuff. But I suspect that a late LP session is a 800 to 1,200 calorie session.
Well, and the question is, could that be... You've got both the how many calories did you burn during this session and how many calories did you burn for the next 36 hours after the session, right? Which is, that's that epoch, that how much oxygen consumption and calorie burning and basal metabolic rate goes up for how long post-session. Yeah. We know it's a while, right? And again, the numbers are sort of all over the place, and certainly it takes into genetics and things are taken into account. But for someone who is genuinely obese, they should do LP exactly as written. That's number one. So that's the program, and nothing extra. Nothing. Don't run on the treadmill. Don't do it. Just do the program. You'll be just fine. Focus on perfect form. Focus on consistency. Those things that we talk about, and just get in there and do it every single day, and add a little bit of. 3 days a week, and add a little weight to the barbell every time, and then understand that your energy needs, the thing that you have to fuel the workout. You're sitting on 40-45% body fat. Your body fat can be used to help fuel the workout itself. Now, what it can't be used for is to turn that fat into muscle. That we know is bullshit. Well, we can't turn fat into muscle, right?
Yep.
And so they have to be able to have enough protein. And probably the question 1B that we get most often after question 1A, which is how do I strength train or do starting strength or LP or whatever and lose fat, the next question that we get most often is, how do I eat enough protein? And you and I are both like blown away by this.
I can't understand it.
It is so easy. I don't understand what people do. Like, well, first off,
hang on. Before we hit protein, I want to say, you said, just do LP. Don't do any cardio, blah, blah. I want people to listen carefully. We're not being dogmatic here. It just doesn't, you can't hardly move the needle. So if you're an obese person and you're not, in this man's example, he's weighing about 200, almost 300 pounds. Yeah, 296. How much cardio can he do? Not very much. He's not going to be able to burn very many calories. So it's just really not a very efficient use of his time. But as he gets stronger, in 2 to 3 weeks, he'll be doing so much more work in the gym underneath the barbell that any cardio he might have done in week 1, 2, and 3 will just be overshadowed. So we want his recovery capacity not spent pounding his knees on the treadmill or messing around with the elliptical machine, but devoted to putting that muscle protein, laying that muscle protein down. Yep. And then, if then I wanted a guy to push a prowler later, he's going to be super strong. One of the good things about
like week 10, week 12, right? Like somewhere there. The guy's in 10 weeks in, 12 weeks in, you're going to that Wednesday light day, throw the prowler at the end of the Wednesday light day. It's low impact. It's high intensity. Now he can take that same caloric, like what would have been an 800 calorie workout. You're going to lose a little bit of the calories from the dropping the intensity on the squat, but you're bumping up the calories burned, as well as, because it's a high intensity interval training, it's going to also tremendously drive up that metabolic rate for the next 24 to 36 hours, or even potentially longer. And that's when you work it in. And so, we're not anti-cardio at all. As a matter of fact, almost anybody that's ever been coached by me knows by the time you're getting to intermediate, unless you are underweight, anybody that's remotely overweight and needs to lose fat and they're intermediates, I'm having them do some stuff. Now you're programmed to do prowler.
I'm pushing
once
prowler
or twice a week. Yep.
Yeah. If it's not a monsoon rain, I'm pushing the prowler. It has rained me out of prowler pushes, like 3 out of 4 sessions. But so in week 12, the guy's going to push the prowler. Now, if he pushed the prowler in week 1, it might literally have been the empty prowler.
Yes.
Now, week 12, that prowler weighs 350.
Right.
400.
Or at least there's a plate per horn. I mean, there's at least,
I mean,
Yes.
it could be immensely heavy, and it's definitely going to be way heavier than it would have been in the beginning. So if we get very strong when it becomes time to actually, do programming specifically targeting fat loss, you can do so much more work that you can really accelerate the fat loss towards the end of LP.
Yes.
It's important for these guys to get on the scale and to measure their waist around their belly button.
That's right.
And to do a sacroiliac fat pinch. You can go get it on Amazon and buy this cheapy little caliper, fat pinch caliper. It's like $1.99, and pinch that. And your body weight.
I get the Myo tape too, so I like the Myo tape because it's got it's what is that called? It's self-adjusting. It's hard to, if you take your mom's like sewing tape that she uses for making dresses or whatever, you could pull a little tighter or a little looser each time, but because it's sort of a self-tightening, it's got the same amount of pressure on it every single time, you can get an accurate measurement of your waist. And that's for men. For women, they should measure their bust, their waist, and their hips.
Yep.
All three of those, and then they can see, where the inches are being lost. For most men, the waist is a good enough measurement there.
Yeah. And that myotape thing, there's actually a little 2-pack, the tape and the little caliper thing. It's like $5. Get that, and you're going to be watching the waist and not just the weight on the barbell. I'm sorry, not just the weight on the scale. And you'll find that by and by it goes down. Somebody that gets on The Biggest Loser and just goes on, broccoli and chicken and runs their ass off on the treadmill might, in fact, lose a little weight faster than we would. The thing that they don't show you on The Biggest Loser is I can't believe that they wouldn't have those people on drugs. They have a TV show to do, for God's sakes.
Yep.
But
they probably are on drugs, and they have shown, you can go back and look, that the long-term success rate of those people is 0.
It doesn't work.
Every single winner of The Biggest Loser puts all the weight back on.
If I could put 30 or 40 pounds of muscle on somebody in LP and they screw up a weekend or a holiday season for Christmas,
or 6 months,
they're going to burn so many more calories.
Look, man, if you've gone through LP, like shit have gone through LP.
Yep.
And then something happens and you literally fall off the wagon for 6 months and you eat shit like you did before LP, and you drink a bunch of soda and a bunch of beer and you lay around and you're lazy, you're still not going to look like you did before LP. That thing, there's something about it that changes you long term. And then what's crazy about it is when you come back and start training again, how much your body changes in a short period of time. Yeah. Now, again, I want to be careful. I don't want to give people an excuse to just fuck around for 6 months. That's a bad idea. But it's not the same thing. If all you do is run your ass off on a treadmill and starve yourself and drop your metabolism way down and then start to fall off the wagon, often the rebound effect, you'll actually become fatter than you were before you started. We see it all the time, right? So,
yeah, people speculate. I don't think anybody really knows the answer to this either, but I've heard the number that a pound of muscle will burn about 50 calories a day at resting. And that seems aggressive because I know that I've probably put on 30 or probably more like 40 pounds of muscle. And if that, I can't eat 2,000 calories a day more than I could before.
Sure.
So that 50 number is a little aggressive, but there's no question about it that the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you burn, even when you're not training. So I really want my people to get strong first. And lastly, man, you fluffy guys are at a big advantage. And ladies, you're at a big advantage in LP. Some underweight guy, they've got a big hill to climb in order to finish LP. And learn new habits and not overshoot and not get fat at the end of the thing. And you guys have got plenty of calories on board. You're actually mostly very, very strong. I mean, you've been carrying around more weight, getting up and down out of chairs and out of cars and stuff with more weight on you. Yeah. And they're often much, much stronger to begin with. And you've got those extra calories. So you guys are at a big advantage in running LP versus the insect-like underweight young male that we often think about.
Correct. Yeah, so what I'd like to do is let's especially since the way we kind of think about this podcast is this systematic progression, let's talk about how those novices get enough protein in next. And then what I'd like to do then is transition to what does it look like for the post-novice who now needs to lose weight? How does programming change there? How does diet change there? Because I think there are a few additional things that we need to consider, not tremendous amounts that we need to consider, but a person who's not 40% fat or 45% fat, but a person who's now gotten pretty damn strong and is 28 to 30% fat, right? Is a little overweight, needs to get down to 20%, somewhere in that ballpark. We're just throwing out the percentages, but you get the general idea. First, let's talk about how do people eat enough protein practically?
Oh, God. You put it in your mouth. I mean, it's not that hard. Order double meat every time you cook something. Just cook double meat. If you have one chicken breast, please have two. If you go to a restaurant, tell them
always order double meat.
Oh, double meat. Every restaurant I go to, double meat. You do the Ron Swanson thing. Oh, I think you heard me say extra.
He says he orders all the bacon and eggs
all the bacon.
have. He's like, well, I fear what you heard me say was bring me a lot of bacon and eggs. What I said, in fact, was bring me all of the bacon and eggs that you have. So, yeah, I mean, that's what you do. Every time we go to my kids, one of our guilty pleasures in life is my kiddos love Waffle House, the whitest trash of white trashness. And I order 8 eggs is what I order for me. And then Rachel orders 6 eggs. And then I order a double order of bacon and she orders a double order of bacon. So we get 4 orders of bacon, right? And then we get 14 eggs between the two of us. And the first 4 or 5 times we did that, everybody in Waffle House just freaked out.
Right.
But Waffle House is one of those places, like an extra egg is like 79 cents. Sometimes you go to a place and extra egg's $3.
Right.
And it'll kill you. So now when we come in, they just start cooking our food. They know what we're going to order.
You pull in, they're like, oh shit, go kill a hog.
Yeah, here we go. And but yeah, it works. Like you just. And by the way, I actually think there's a point to be made here because especially since I wrote the Eating Through the Sticking Points article years ago, which was a little bit satirical, but mostly actually all true. I don't know that I would eat exactly that way if I were trying to gain weight. The thing about getting enough protein in when you're trying to lose weight, I actually can't eat a lot at one sitting. I've never actually been able to. I struggle to eat a lot of food at one sitting. I just eat a normal amount of food at one sitting. I have to make sure I eat my protein first. If I fill up on carbs and veggies and, all of that and drinks, actually, I started almost always, when I need to get a bunch of protein in, I will never drink a drink that has bubbles in it. I don't want LaCroix. I don't want beer. I don't drink soda. I don't drink diet soda. It fills me up too fast. And I don't drink normal soda. As a matter of fact, I had a sip of Coke the other day. That was like, God, it was so sweet. I had this thought in my mind of what real Coca-Cola tasted like. And so I had a sip of Coke, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is like drinking maple syrup. It's too much." So I drink water.
You can't belch. You're like a koala bear or something. You just can't belch.
Yeah, I can't burp. That's true. That's something wrong with me. But the key here is you eat your protein. You eat your protein 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner is what I do. I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For breakfast is always eggs and usually bacon. I use like a turkey bacon or microwavable bacon that I can actually like absorb most of the fat out of because I'm trying to get low fat. When it's eggs, it's like 1 whole egg and a bunch of egg whites. I buy egg whites at Sam's. Again, we're talking about
pour them out of that milk carton thing.
Yep, pour them out of the milk carton and make the scrambled eggs there. And I usually take 1 or 2 pieces of that bacon, I microwave it and get it all crispy and crunchy, and then I just crumble it in the eggs and make a big thing of eggs. And there's your protein. There's almost no fat in it because the bacon was already low fat anyway. You absorb most of the fat in the paper towels in the microwave.
Reynolds just said low fat bacon.
Hey, well, they make low fat turkey bacon and stuff. Right. That's, you know what I mean. It's fine.
But don't sweat it.
And then what do you do though when you can't eat your breakfast? I mean,
just
breakfast,
drink it.
Lunch, and dinner. You drink it, guys. This is the biggest point. Everybody would go, "Oh, I just can't." Wait a minute. Everybody just drinks bottles of water and Crystal Light and soda and beer. You're just going to replace that with a protein shake. How hard is that?
Yeah,
right.
And not a prefab protein shake that contains 34 grams. You're going to shake one up in your kitchen out of powder because they're much cheaper as well, and it's going to be 75 or 100 grams.
That's right. I use Fairlife skim milk. So what I do is I've been buying that Fairlife skim milk because it's no fat. And it's that ultra, whatever it is, filtered way. So it's almost like Greek yogurt, but with milk. So it's like a thicker. So even though it's skim milk, which Ron Swanson would not be happy about, it's got a thicker mouthfeel because it's been filtered so much. The protein is like double the protein.
I got you.
And I put 2 scoops of protein in it, shake it up in a shaker bottle, hammer it. It's easy to get. So you get 3 meals a day and 2 protein shakes. That's 250 grams of protein.
If you're my overweight guy, don't use milk. Just mix it up with water. It's not going to be delicious, and then shotgun it. Just chug it and throw it in the sink and walk out. You're not supposed to savor it. It's not supposed to be delicious. And by the way, if you make it with water and you shake it up with 75 or 100 grams, it's not thin and watery.
Sure.
It's like pancake batter, and then you just chug it and you throw it in the sink. And so I have found that if I eat normally, I'm going to get 150, 160 grams of protein just in my diet of whole foods. And so if I kick the day off with a 75 gram shake, I don't have to worry about anything for the rest of the day because I've developed habits that are predictable, and I can get my protein that way. So guys, you're needing to get 220, 240, something like that. And ladies, you need to get 160. And just do it. Just do it. Don't worry about it. Don't fret about it. Don't plan and scheme and try to perfect it. Just log your food, and at the end of the day, figure out what you lack and mix a shake up that meets that deficit and chug it.
That's right.
And chug
I
it.
do that all the time. Yeah.
It's all.
By the way, that Fairlife Skim only has 80 calories in a cup and 13 grams of protein, 6 grams of carbs, and 0 fat. So it's pretty.
It ain't bad.
It's about the best thing you can get to put it out. And sometimes I'll do like half that, half water as well, just to give it a little bit more of that yummy taste. But it doesn't matter. Okay, so if you're fat, you're going to do. If you're obese and a novice, you're going to do LP just like everybody else does. When it comes time, the LP stops working a little bit, and you've got to make that first MED change and go to a Wednesday light day. That would be a perfectly appropriate place to add in something like a Prowler, something that is low impact. Prowler. The Echo bike from Rogue, or a Airdyne, or a Assault bike, any of those three are fine. I love that Rogue Echo. A Rower is okay. Rower is clearly my third favorite across the board. My Prowler is my favorite. And you're going to make sure that you get your protein in, and then you're just going to keep your fat really low. Like, don't eat much fat. Fat has got to be low.
Fat has so many more calories in it than carbs do. It's over twice as many calories per gram as carbs and protein. So if you're not feeling full, if you're not feeling satiated, eat more protein, but stay away from the fat, and you're going to be okay. Listen, guys, it took you a number of years probably to get as fat as you got. I did it too. And it's going to take you a number of years to not be that way. If you want to develop the habits that prevent you from being a fat ass and that get you where you want to be, that's going to take a couple of years. It took you more than a couple probably to get fat, and it's not unreasonable to understand and know that it's going to take you a couple of years to get unfat. But in LP, your clothes are going to fit better. You're going to feel better in week 3 for sure. Yep. And you'll see improvements by and by, week in and week out with that. That Prowler pushing, a cautionary word about the Prowler pushing. When you add that Prowler in, the end is nigh on LP, because if that sucker's actually heavy, boy, it's going to wreck that recovery. So it needs to be late in LP before we add that stuff in, and then when you start doing your intermediate programming, you're going to have to make allowances for getting that conditioning work in and working that fat loss.
And by the way, it wrecks recovery less than anything else does.
It does.
For that, that's what's crazy. So we're not saying, like, if it's the Prowler or a treadmill, definitely pick the Prowler, because there's too much impact on the treadmill. That Prowler is a concentric only push. There's no eccentric loading there. There's no soreness or very little soreness. And if it is, it's just in the beginning because your calves and Achilles aren't used to being stretched that much. But once they are, they're okay. So we really like the Prowler there. But yes, that's definitely has to be accounted for. That stress has to be accounted for. When I go move somebody to a 4-day split, I put it on the lower body day after the squat and deadlift. They just do squat, deadlift, Prowler. That's the workout.
Yeah. Don't do your conditioning on an off day. The off day is for rest. Do it at the end of a workout so you have a full unbroken rest period before your next workout so that you can go in there and do more work.
Right.
Yeah, it's not overly complicated, y'all, but here's what it does take. It takes a long time preference. It takes faith in the process and the discipline to execute over and over and over again. And then if you do that in time, you'll get what you want from it.
That's right.
There are other methods that make a lot more extravagant promises than that, and those things will be tempting because by the time someone gets overweight and they become fed up with it, I've been there. They're fed up with it and they want results right now. But the thing is, most of these these quick fixes don't work, including gastric bypass. Everybody I know, almost everybody I know that got a gastric bypass, gained a great deal of that weight back.
Yeah.
This is really the only thing that I know that works, and I'll tell you, it's a little bit like AA.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like AA. It's probably the only thing that works, and it doesn't work very good.
Yeah.
People that struggle with food will probably struggle with it their whole lives, but this, I think, gives us the best shot, and it certainly, regardless of what your body fat does, will leave you healthier. Will leave you healthier than you were when you started.
That's
and
right.
I can't say that for other diet methods.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So for I want to talk more about diet, but let's talk about programming for the intermediate, what changes might happen for intermediate and advanced type lifters. And the important thing that I wanted to get across here that I think is I would like to shatter a myth in my experience is that when someone is trying to lose fat who is out of the novice phase, so they're already pretty damn strong. That's the point. I do not raise the volume very much at all unless it's immediately post-meet, right? So if somebody has finished post-meet, so they literally just did a meet and their body weight is heavier than it should be and they hit singles and PRs and they didn't do much volume anyway, I'm often going to put them on an LP, and the volume is going to go up because they're going to be doing LP at 3 sets of 5, when what they were doing the last month was singles, doubles, and triples, and the volume is already low. But otherwise, I think a lot of people are like, well, I need to do more volume in the gym to burn more calories to lose more fat. Wrong. What we're trying to do is, remember, the goal here is strength and force production. What we're actually trying to do is, it's a similar thing as getting old. We have the episode about maintenance is a myth. The idea here is I'm either trying to continue to get stronger, which some of you will be able to do, but a lot of you are just going to be fighting to take weight off the bar a little as slow as humanly possible as you lose that fat.
Yep.
And then once your body levels out at its new level, which is, say 5 to 10% less body fat, it'll stop, level out, you'll get used to it, your leverages change a little bit, and then the strength will start coming back up. What we don't want to do is anything that's going to cause a dramatic decrease in strength. And so for me, what I do is I try to keep my people generally heavy and titrate the volume based on the amount of stress they can handle because of the reduced amount of calories. Now, at the point that they are intermediate or advanced, and even when they're novices, this is what we know. Calories really have to drop. Right?
Yep.
Calories are going to have to go down. Just like you said, for a novice, theoretically, the increased muscle growth will cause the metabolic rate to go up, and so they can burn more calories on their own. But certainly for an intermediate or advanced lifter, if you're going to lose fat, you have got to reduce calories. And my number one argument I hear back from people about that is that they're hungry all the time and that they don't feel like they have energy for the workout. So I want to address both of those issues very, very quickly. Number one, calories can go down, but food intake can actually go up if you do it right and you understand how to play the game. Remember, fat doesn't take up much space. Fat is, as what Santana calls it, it's like the phantom macro. You can't see it, right? You can have a bunch of rice that's carbs that either has no butter in it or has 3 tablespoons of butter, and it's just as satiating with or without the butter. Like, it fills you up just as much, but one has 3x the calories in it, right? So if you work to drop your fat and instead you eat lean protein rather than fat protein, so lean cuts of red meat, chicken breast, fish, things like that. We like that kind of stuff. I still eat lots of red meat, but I just try to make, like even when I'm buying ground hamburger, I'm buying that hamburger that's like 95% lean, even 97% lean. And that stuff has become better and better priced over the years. It's not very expensive, especially if you buy it in a big pack. You can eat high protein. You can eat low fat. You can eat high vegetables, which are very satiating and lots of bulk and like help you to not be hungry. And then here's the other piece. Everybody tries to eat their carbs post-training, and it's wrong. And I've talked to Santana about this. This isn't a Matt Reynolds thing. You need the carb. If you're an intermediate or advanced lifter, the carbs are more important for you pre-training because the thing that we're doing is glycolytic, anaerobic type training. The thing that is getting burned primarily is blood sugar. It burns glucose. It burns glycogen, and I have to have that. And so what most people will do is they'll save their carbs for post-training, for that probably mythical post-training window of anabolic gains. Listen, man, you're trying to cut fat right now. You're probably not gaining any muscle. You're trying to hold on to the muscle that you have. And so what you do is, if you're going to have that rice, or you're going to have that oatmeal, or you're going to have that sweet potato, eat it before the training, not after the training, because you need to fuel the training so the training goes better. There is nothing more depressing than being strong, starting to diet, and get 2 weeks in, and you go into a workout and just bonk. So your calories need to come before the training session, like 90 minutes before, 2 hours before, and then just back off the calories the rest of the day. You'll be fine. Keep hammering the protein, make sure the muscle gain is there. Like, you can still eat the protein and the veggies, and you're going to keep fat low, and you're going to titrate carbs around the training.
And you don't need a lot of carbs to make the training session go okay. 75 grams of carbs for a dude is going to be plenty to keep your blood sugar up and just let you truck right on through that thing.
That's right.
It's not that bad.
By the way, we need to actually probably ask Santana or Christy about this, but another thing that I'll use maybe it's placebo, but for me, I really like to eat quite a bit of salt on that meal right before I work out, because I want my body to actually hold water. So the more water it's holding for the workout, the more kind of bloated I feel for the workout. Remember, I'm not trying to look good for the beach right now. I'm trying to, I'm losing fat over time. I wouldn't eat a bunch of salt and then go hang out at my pool, but I am going to eat some salt and some carbs, a good meal with protein, low fat, plenty of water, get a good little bloat going, and then go in the gym and I feel better.
Right.
And then you're going to sweat so much in the gym. You're going to sweat most of that bloat away anyway. You're going to drink water while you're there. You're going to use up most of the glycogen and sugar that you ate 90 minutes before, and you're going to feel pretty good afterwards. And you're not going to feel like just like a walking pile of shit. And you're also not going to feel like you bonked in the middle of the workout. So for me, carbs are better pre-workout than they are post when I'm trying to lose. And fat's the thing we get rid of. The fat is just too many calories. It's just that 9 calories per gram. You can't get over it. And then the important also thing, because we always review the whiskey, alcohol is the same thing, man. You got to dramatically reduce your consumption of alcohol. Alcohol is 7 grams of fat, so it's just a step below fat on its caloric impact, and it is not as good for being used as energy. That's the other problem, right? So it's like lots of calories, and your body's not able to utilize it very well for energy, and so the alcohol's got to go down. For that, I start playing the white trash beer game. I really do. I'll play I'll go get Mick Ultra, Cactus Lime. I'll buy some of that stuff. No, it's fine. I mean, you can use a different, or I'll do a little like a half-ounce pour of whiskey or a 1-ounce pour of whiskey at night, just to sort of be like, all right, I got a little bit. Obviously, I'm not making cocktails with sugar in it. Like, those things seem to help.
I've got a couple of guys that are working on bringing their waist in a little bit, and they're lay intermediates, like strong, like 500 for 5 squatting guys, and I've reduced their training volume quite a bit, because we're just not going to get stronger as their waist comes down, but it doesn't require as many calories for them to get through their workout, so they can calorie restrict a little bit more. Yes. And I'm not just driving them into the ground and bonking them, and it seems to be just fine.
By the way, if I want to get some volume in there to get the calories up, I'll do it often with the accessory movements, because I don't care if my weight that I'm using on the accessory movements goes down. So things like for upper body, a lot of times, like I don't like chin ups very often when I'm dieting, because I feel like I bonk on the chin ups and my reps aren't there. So a lot of times I'll do like a lat pull down instead, or I'll do a seated row or something. Again, we're not talking about novices. I wouldn't have a novice do a seated row, but it's pretty strong. A big heavy barbell row is one of those things. It's like, I can feel myself bonking at the end of the workout, so I don't like a big heavy barbell row. So like a lat pull down or low seated row, tricep, rolling dumbbell tricep extensions, LTEs, barbell curls, dumbbell curls, things like that can help get additional stress in, additional volume, additional calorie burning, and I don't feel like I'm bonking in the same way I would if I was trying to push the volume and the intensity on the 4 primary lifts. So I'm just like you, man. I drop the volume significantly. I just try to keep them as strong as I can while they're losing the fat. I try not to, eat up all that glycogen in their body Certainly not on the main lifts. I wouldn't have people do 5 sets of 5 or anything like that. As a matter of fact, that's the kind of stuff I do when I'm trying to get people to gain muscle. Right? Intermediate and advanced people, like not novices, but if it's intermediate and advanced, it's, we're doing some volume there, 6 sets of 4, things like that. But I'm never going to do that for people trying to lose weight because they just don't have the energy reserves to go get it.
And that's fine. That's not their goal right now. Their goal is to bring their waist down. So,
yep.
And I don't know. I don't want to talk about that anymore. And because there's nothing really more to say about it. You just got to do the work and you've got to put the muscle on. So maybe if there's one thing to think about, I believe that you end up losing the fat, not because of the work you did, but because of the muscle that you put on.
Yep.
When you put on that muscle, you'll burn more calories. When you put on that muscle, it requires a great number of calories. So driving the muscle mass up, I believe, is the key to long-term fat loss and keeping that fat off. So if you protect your muscle mass, if you not only build it, but protect it, you won't be saying this shit that you hear old people say, oh, my metabolism slowed down. Their metabolism didn't slow down. They metabolize nutrients the same rate that they did before. They just can't burn them because their muscle all died.
Right. Yeah.
I see this among older ladies.
Yes.
Their muscle mass goes down, they go down, it goes down, it goes down. It does in men too. But if you see an older lady who's never been obese, she's been very diligent and careful with calorie restriction her whole life.
Yeah.
And as their muscle mass goes down, next thing you know, they're 71 and they've restricted their calories to the point that I've seen them eat 750, 800 calories a day or maybe even less.
Yeah.
And when you eat that few calories, you can't get enough. There's not enough vitamins and 750 calories worth of food to keep them alive.
Right.
And then they end up with it's anorexia at that point. Now, they may not have the psychology of an anorexic.
Yep.
But the disease process ends up being the same. They will at that point starve themselves to death. You have to protect your muscle mass. If you ain't got it, you got to go get it, and then you got to fight to keep it.
Yeah, my grandpa Lynn that we had on the show, a couple years ago is one of our people like hearing from my grandpa, right? He's saying Marty Robbins. I've watched my grandpa as he's gotten older. My grandpa's 83, still plays a lot of golf. He'll have days where he'll go play like 36 holes of golf in one day, which to me is about 30 holes too many for golf. I'd like golf to be about 5 holes. I'd go play golf if an entire golf course was 5 holes long. I'd be like, yeah, that's about right, 35 minutes. He'll go play 36 holes. He'll get up in the morning and he'll have a piece of bacon and 1 egg, play 36 holes of golf, and then go to this crappy little diner here in town and have a bowl of chicken soup. Not a bowl, a cup of chicken noodle soup.
Right.
And I'm like, Grandpa, what are you doing? Right. Well, so now he'll drink some Mountain Dew he'll drink like real Mountain Dew during the golf. He doesn't drink beers. Remember, I don't think my grandpa, I think he told me this. I don't think he's had a single drop of alcohol since he was like 19 years old. He's not an alcoholic. He just doesn't. So, but he drinks a little bit of soda. Sody, he calls it.
Sody.
Right. Got some sody in the fridge for you. Yeah, man. I wish I could get that guy training because I'd like to put some muscle on him. So, yeah, it's a big deal. My dad, I keep getting updates on my dad. My dad is now down 78 pounds. And he's got this bad dementia, but the dementia is not going to kill my dad.
Right.
What's going to kill my dad is the weight loss, right? Like my dad walked around at 230, loses 78 pounds. Like how many more pounds can he lose before his organs start shutting down? Like he doesn't have any muscle left. I'll tell you what's weird. I never noticed this. And he's built like me. He's got a big frame. I might have said this on podcast. I can't remember, but he's laying on his back. He's still got this big giant rib cage. So he's laying on his back. He's got this big rib cage, and then his belly just falls underneath his rib cage. I mean, this is as hard because there's nothing there anymore, right? So the rib cage is still there, and it's the same size it always has been. It's the rib cage of a big 6'1", 250-pound guy. Only the guy's only weighs 150 pounds now, and so it's interesting. That's why we do this thing. We try to keep muscle on ourselves as long as we can. So the takeaway for me for if you want to lose fat is you have to make sure your protein intake is high. You have to make sure you're consistent with your workouts and that you keep the weight as heavy as you can handle it. Back off volume if you need the recovery. And the first thing to take away is the fat intake. So fat goes down, protein goes up, and you just stay consistent with your workouts, and you'll be surprised if you do that over the long term what that does for your body composition, right? And then we don't care that much whether we weigh 185 or 225 or whatever because the body composition has come down from 45 to 40 to 35 to 30. And the next thing you know, you're sitting at 18% body fat. You're 45 years old. You're 6'1", like built like a brick shit house. That's the point.
18% body fat for a guy that age, not taking any drugs. It's a pretty good place to just sit.
Yeah, agreed.
I think it takes some pretty diligent effort to get below that, and then I don't think that people can long term maintain much less than that at that age. A younger man can, but an older guy, I think they struggle
especially
with
if somebody who has struggled with some additional body fat. Like, you're always going to have the guy who just is like so skinny, he's always going to be 9 to 11%. Like, even as he gains muscle, he's just.
I'm looking at you, Montfort.
That's exactly what I thought. Michael Montfort is exactly that guy. Like, that guy is never going to be 18% body fat.
He just walks around all veiny.
He can't be. I promise you, Michael Montfort eats more food than you and I do.
Probably.
It's just, but, screw that guy. It's not what the podcast isn't about that guy. Everybody wants that guy's genetics.
Yeah, so. Let's name off all these guys. Deaton, too. He just walks around all veiny.
Deaton's 51, 52 years old.
I think he's 73. He's 73 now.
Deaton's 73.
He's just jacked. I'm chasing his numbers, so frustrating.
Yeah, I want to be as strong as Deaton, and I want to look exactly like Deaton, and I want to have as much money as Deaton has when I'm Deaton's age. If Deaton lives the life we all want to live.
He's living your best life.
He's living my best life. Yeah, Joel Osteen would take me and point me at Darren Deaton and say, if you had enough faith, you could look like this guy.
My brother-in-law John, he just walks around all vascular and jacked and shit. It's so frustrating.
Yep. So that's not us. So from a fellow fat guy, me, and a fellow back and forth fat guy, you, to all of our other listeners who are struggling with this, that's the only way it works, man. Protein goes up, fat goes down, training stays consistent, training stays heavy. You'll be just fine. That's the goal.
Losing a little weight's not that hard anymore. I burn so many dang calories that I'm just like, cut out a few little things and the weight starts coming back down again. It's not nearly as stressful a thing to say, oh God, I'm 12 pounds over. I can get rid of that in a couple of weeks at this point.
So it's interesting, after not training, this is a really interesting thing for me, is that when I came back and did my first workout, or the day before I did the first workout here at the house, I took my body weight and my waist measurement and some before pictures, right? Just for me. I'm just standing there in my boxer briefs or whatever. And so I weighed 274 when I came back. So I hadn't touched a weight in like 8 weeks. I weighed 274. My waist was pushing 49.
Wow.
And I look like shit. And 3 weeks later, my waist was 43 and a half, and my body weight was 284. It had gone up 10 pounds. My body weight I had gained 10 pounds, and my waist had come down 6 inches, because that's the difference it makes when you come back and you've built that kind of solid core of muscle. And do I think that I've put on a tremendous amount of muscle and lost a tremendous amount of fat? No, I think a lot of it's just the way the water's been partitioned in my body, right? The muscle starts holding more water, more glycogen, creatine, less subcutaneous water. But what a massive difference it makes, right? So my body weight's actually gone up going back to training as my muscles have kind of filled out a little bit, but I look like a completely different person. That's bizarre. So
look at the head on that, Matt Reynolds. Whew. There's another Barbell Logic podcast. I believe that this is your best ticket to getting rid of that body fat and restoring yourself to the kind of body and the kind of health you want. I did it. I did it both ways, and the barbell way is the easier, longer lasting way. No, wait a minute. Yeah. You know what? It ain't easy. It's the most effective, longer lasting way.
It's simple but hard, right? That's why we say simple, hard, effective. It's simple but hard and extremely effective.
And there's gonna be self-doubt along the way. It's gonna be very, very difficult, but you need to do it. I find that a lot of us that gain weight have gained weight because we have trouble regulating our mood, and we're using food and other things to regulate our mood. And sometimes those lack of coping skills that we may have that got us in the trouble that we're in make it really hard to do the weight training. So get a training partner, get a coach. They'll help you stay accountable. They'll help encourage you. It helps to see other people struggle with the same thing. So get a training partner and know that your mood and your brain is going to rebel against this whole thing and fight it and be who you're supposed to be. Send your questions, guys. Send them out to questions@barbell-logic.com, and we'll put those in on a Saturday show. And go give us a review wherever you like to. Wherever you like to. You can go check us out on TuneIn Radio and Stitcher and iHeartRadio and all those kinds of places. And then, of course, join the YouTube channel where we send out some more educational stuff, some short form stuff, and you'll get to see what Matt's head looks like if you go to YouTube. So do that.
Awfully shiny. My new room is lots of natural light in here, and so it really reflects off the both bald head and greasy head that I have. So it's just it's like a nice sheen of grease on my head, and it's it glistens.
Yeah, so join the YouTube channel to see that. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll talk to you in a few days.